Well, it's a good morning
Hey!
today from Radio FM 88 Australia in the studios of Brisbane. It's been a wet, rainy day for the last 3 days, 4 days, and so we're not used to that rain. So hence the reason we've got a jumper on. Anyway, bottom line is today's guest is in the UK. In fact, she's in the Mediterranean, so she's soaking up the sun. And at the top of the totem pole, none other than our co-host Pauline. And it's a good morning to you two ladies.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I have to tell you that if you've had rain and English weather in Australia, we're having Australian weather here in England. We've got a 30 degrees for the last few days. It's been quite sweltering and life has slowed down quite a bit. So we've got a little reversal in the weather schedules. So good morning, Jeff, and good morning, Mirjam.
Good
How are you?
morning. Very fine, thank you. I really hope to bring in the sun here because we are just at the start of a gorgeous early summer here in the Mediterranean after a long, nice spring and winter with a lot of rain that we need so badly. So we are soaking it in now also, like everybody else, the sun and the warm temperatures.
Yeah, great. And how would you pronounce your name, just so that I get it right?
It's Mirjam. This J
Mirjam.
causes me a lot of problems in any languages, yeah, but it's Mirjam.
Mirjam. Okay, that's I can muster that very nicely. So it's a delight to have you here. And I know you've written a few books, and you and I have a connection through my friend Penny in Mallorca.
That's it.
So,
She lives
so
just across
you're
the
in
hill.
Mallorca.
I'm in Mallorca
Ah,
right now. Yeah, we are neighbors, basically, just separated
okay.
by a little hill.
Yeah. Well, Neighbours is a great theme of Australia as well, is it not, Jeff?
You're talking about a certain TV show.
Well, I was never referring to anything such. So, Mirjam, can you tell us how you got to do the things that you're doing? You talk about the seasons of change and hormones, so you've clearly had a good dive into the anatomy of women, at least.
Yeah, I guess I would say it started all 30 years ago when I started with 30. I started to be due to psychological and physical symptoms due to suffering that hopefully usually makes us stop, pause, soften, and connect and see what's going on. So I started to understand and to get interest in the interconnectedness of body, mind, and soul. So it was really then with 30, 32 when I started to take my life into my own hands, back then with 2 little children on my hands, separating from my then husband and also separating from the society I used to live in and starting to walk my own path. And it was then when I started first to dive into the physical part, the scientific part of the human body. I'm a very pragmatic person. I'm interested how things work, things we can see, I can touch. And once I can remember very well, combined still with techniques of Pilates, of yoga, the spiritual path, Buddhism. But once I finished that dissection course in Scotland with beautiful, wonderful Gil Hadley, and I had the brain with the spinal cord in my hand, and I understood that from there I had been taken everything that I have built up so far from anatomy and knowledge. And it was really only then that I could free flow into the invisible life and sphere of Qi, Chinese medicine, the spirituality even more, because I knew what was going on in the physical world and I knew that I didn't know nothing. And from there, I was kind of freed. And from there, I expanded my horizon, my interest, my curiosity, and it keeps going on.
Wow. I mean, that's a beautiful description of the integration between the physical and the non-physical. And so for you, exploring the non-physical was very expansive. Is that right?
It was expensive, but only because I had been expanding in the physical world. I have become a big fan and believer in these polarities that we need in order to function well or to explore and grow. So the polarities of yin and yang, the polarities of the doing and the non-doing, of the physical world and the spiritual world. So I continue to move between them and beyond, just exploring and enjoying that there are no limits other than the limits I put on myself.
So that was a major aha moment, was it?
Yeah, and it continues to be.
Aha! Aha!
But definitely being able, or like with our scalpels back then in this dissection course, guided by a wonderful man, and he started to study theology. He wanted to become a priest, Gil Hadley, and only because of his excruciating pain, he started to investigate into anatomy and became an amazing lead figure in this world, and with an incredible spiritual approach to honor life while investigating the death. So being able to go layer by layer from the external appearance of a human being to the deepest, most inner essence on the physical part of a human being, of a body, and having these organs in the hand, like playing with a heart, with a human heart, folding, unfolding, or having this brain with the spinal cord in my hands. It was an aha moment, and it took me a few months to find my way back onto this earth and figuring out how I could possibly continue this life on this earth and sharing what I was passionate about, by knowing that it was way beyond anything that I could ever grasp with my brain, what I saw and experienced.
I'm trying to imagine what it was like if you're holding your brain and your spinal cord in your hands, and then your heart and all the other organs. Was this in an imaginary sense, where you physically, or you imagine that you have these organs before you? How did that happen?
It was like 10 days spending in a laboratory, and cutting through the layers of human bodies. They were dead, of course. They were donors. They donated their bodies, their forms, to this wonderful person, Gil Hadley. And this was my peak experience on the physical world, to really investigate how the inner world would look like, of a human body. Things that I had been teaching during 10 years prior to this experience, but only due to things I had studied and learned by books or videos, never myself. So it was an actual experience.
Yeah, so you had the organs in your hands.
Everything.
Oh.
Mortuary.
That it.
She's obviously in the mortuary.
Yes, yes. And so these dead organs were bringing new life into your perspective in a very, very expansive way.
Absolutely. It made me honor and respect our physical form in this world much more, and made me realize what an incredible, amazing miracle we all are. And so since then, it's like this continuous longing to help people understand how the body is working, and not only in itself and every cell in itself and amongst the cells and organs and systems, but also in a close interaction with the world around us, in relationships, in surroundings, in communities, in work environments, nature, how this has a close and immediate effect or long-term effect on our body, and how our body is speaking with us as the only physical way to make us feel something, like in order of sensation or pain.
That's quite something. I'm just getting to grips with the whole notion of holding the organs and really having a very, very intimate connection with another being's organs.
Yeah.
And from that point on, how would you say your interest in the hormones developed from there? Because you have books about the seasons of change and how you made those connections.
Yeah. I mean, I'm now 58, so I have gone already through quite a few of cycles and seasons myself.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
most of them, I have been living in a quite ignorant state of the hormones, if not even resistance to the hormones, as the information I was growing up with, or the information I kept finding on my journey as a woman and as a human being, were usually either very confusing or so complex that I was worse afterwards, after my request or after my quest, than before. So I denied them, rejected them quite a while at the big time of my life. And then, let's say from 50 on, I started to be interested more what's really happening. And I'm very lucky. I had a great and still have an amazing gynecologist by my side, who is a dear friend of mine, also with his family. And he was specialized in hormones. So I had a great reference also, which does not mean that everything that he is believing in is what I'm believing in. So I went also on my own quest. And women who come to me either to my to my clinic to get healing touch and healing sessions in form of osteopathy, acupuncture, energy work, Chinese medicine, or in accompanying them in mentorship session, there is such a big amount of suffering in women happening, no matter which stage they are in, because of this ignorance, or let's say not knowing what's really happening. And so I really wanted to I was longing to find a way how to break this complexity of these beautiful messengers down, so that we could resonate with them, not only from a scientific way, because this can be quite frustrating or overwhelming, but also from an instinctive way, in a natural way. And this is where Chinese medicine with the 5 elements and the seasons came in. And then it became this whole beautiful circle and outcome that is now in form of my book, Hormones, Seasons of Change, Cycles of Wisdom.
Okay. So are there any particular hormones that relate to each of the seasons, or how would you describe it to somebody who is ignorant about, like me, I was ignorant about what my hormones are doing and how they're affecting me. So for a moment, pretend I've just come to you for the first time. And
okay.
What's happening?
That's a great question, because that's really what the intention kind of is of my courses and book. Yet I cannot talk of all of them. In the book, I break it already down to the 20 most relevant hormones, and there are many more.
Okay.
But if you had, let's say, 2 minutes, and I do not want to lose you, I would just bring it back again into these two groups of hormones that represent again our two polarities, yin and yang aspects, yeah, which we both need in order to survive and thrive. So the yin aspects in the world of hormones are our sexual hormones and hormones of reproduction, as estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. So these three are the yin aspects. They keep us juicy, they keep us lubricated, they keep us strong, they make us want to go out to the world, to connect, to reproduce, right? And then on the other hand, we have the yang aspect of our hormonal world, which is the stress hormones. So adrenaline and cortisol, very important to survive, to being alert and warn us when there is danger and keep us overcoming danger or stress situation, right? So as everything in life, if these two are in balance, we are healthy, we are well, because both are doing their functions. What happens with the years and in the world of our yang, masculine, not related to men, but masculine qualities dominated world, is that the yang aspect is already much more elevated. We have much more adrenaline and cortisol in our bloodstream because of how the world is, right? Which when we are young, up to 30, it's not such a problem because we have enough juicy yin aspects. But from 35 at the latest, with men and women, this yin aspect starts to drop, the reproduction starts to drop. So the yin aspect starts already to drop within our inner landscape because nature considers us less and less needy for the reproductive side of life. So within our inner landscape, we have already an elevated level of cortisol and adrenal. And this brings, of course, an imbalance that can already come up with some symptoms like lack of concentration, irritability, insomnia, hot flashes, brittle bones, digestive problems, blurry visions. All of these things can be a result of this inner imbalance. And with the years, it increases. So we need to know that we can adjust and adapt our choices, how we go through life, so that we can help to bring balance again in our system and not contribute to the already imbalance of our increased yang and stress hormones in our system. I don't know if this makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what kind of practices would a person undertake if they were going to redress an imbalance? And as you said, the older we get, the more adrenaline, more cortisone. How do we kind of taper that or stroke it in some way that it's not so prevalent in our behavior?
The first thing is that I always say it's not adding things, but see what's there, see and taking inventory of our life and lifestyle on all different levels of movement, of rest, of nourishment on different levels, also not only food, but also emotional, on the lifestyle, the rhythm, the pace. What's there now and where we can already make changes in order to bring more juiciness, calm, relaxation, restoration in our days. And then, of course, practices like yoga, breathing techniques, walking in nature, switching our phone off and keep it switched off to certain times. Very simple things that at the end, in practicality, often offer a huge challenge. So it needs the willingness from the person that comes and looks for solutions, or the pain level needs already to be so high that they just are ready to change anything.
Yeah. Mm. Yes, I've often said pain is a ripening agent.
Mm.
Yeah. So when you mention about turning your mobile phone off for certain times, are there certain times of the day when it's more restorative to just not be engaged in the outside world through a mobile phone or any other kind of media?
Of course. I mean,
Oh.
during meal times for sure. And
Okay.
but also in the morning, and in the evening. So I protect my days, for example. I can share with you what works for me.
Okay.
That when I wake up, my phone is not in the bedroom. I have another alarm clock that comes with light and birds, which made a big change. It made a big change not having to need the phone in order to check what time it is or to be woken up. So in the morning, I do not switch it on onto out from airplane mode, not before I come out of the gym, which is usually at 8 o'clock, and I go and drive down and get my coffee. And in the evening, usually from 6 or 7 o'clock, depending how the days are, I really switch it off. And I mean switch it off, Wi-Fi out, off, often the device off. It depends, of course, what kind of responsibility we have. But if we can be 2 hours without the screen before we go to sleep, or at least 1 hour, the amount of chronic suffering for sleeping disorders is diminuing incredibly. And it's a simple tool.
Wow. I'm going to give that a go.
Yeah, try.
Oh, yeah. So a minimum of 2 hours before going to bed.
I mean,
No.
I would always say, look, adapt it to your life, and you can always
Yeah.
start very slow, very little that it is digestible and doable, and you don't get frustrated. I find this very, very important. And when it has an effect, you will enhance the time naturally.
Okay. Well, I do know for sure I had the alarm set this morning to be sure that I was up and ready, and it was on my phone. So that's something that I went, oh, okay, yeah, I actually did that. But I could do it a different way and see and so that the phones are not so in my life
Yeah.
when I'm going to bed and going for restorative sleep and waking up, so I'm not immediately. So I'll give that a go for 7 days, and I'll let you know how I'll get on with that. I mean, that is a very simple and easy thing a person can do, just to give themselves time to properly sleep and regenerate, reorganize themselves. Okay, food for thought. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Enjoy.
So there's an action plan for me, because I'm very yang at the moment. Okay, so now going back to the hormones and the seasons of change, is there seasons in the day, seasons of the year, seasons of life? What are we talking here in terms of seasons?
There are seasons really in every single moment. And of course, to make it easy and to pick listeners or readers or patients up where they are, I start also in the book to explain the 5 elements based on the season of a year, because this is something that we can all relate to. So we have these 5 elements, like from Chinese medicine, it's wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And these elements are represented in the season in form of spring, the element of wood, so the plants who are breaking through the soil towards the light, expanding in any way, with a starting yang energy, right? Which comes with courage and force. Then it goes over into the fire, which represents the summer energy, the peak of yang energy, with these wonderful long days and this longing for connection and this blossoming time that we often want to hold on to during the whole year. And then it starts to go down and the fire has burned. Then what is left is the earth. And the earth is the first step, an invitation for us to go inwards. It's kind of, we use it in Chinese medicine as the transition after each season. The last 10 days of every season are always dedicated to the earth element. So we use acupuncture points of the earth meridians like stomach and spleen to strengthen that, so we can go back in and regather our energy, see what's there, nourish ourselves, and then with new strength to go into the next season. So it's also the season of late summer, which is represented by earth, but at the same time the transitions from every season into the other. And then we go into autumn, which is represented of metal, because earth contains metal, minerals in it. And this is the tricky season for many of us, not only in a year, but also in a lifetime. This is the season after our fertile years, represented by summer and fire, when we start losing certain capacities and skills or energy and power and reserves. And it's the start of the yin season. It's the beginning of going inwards, losing things like the trees lose their leaves, and it can come with a certain nostalgia and resistance to that season. And this is kind of what is my main focus, to understand the element of fire in a good way, that fire cannot burn eternally. It needs to be nourished and tended to, and that eventually it needs to go into another element. So then the next year or the next project or the next day, we can dispose again of an amazing, full and powerful fire. So autumn metal is very important for us to surrender to this yin season and to surrender to the yin qualities, shorter days, calming down, going inwards. And then, of course, water, which is contained in minerals, and the winter time is the one that really invites us to become more solitude and to nourish our roots and our reserves, because there is a spring again waiting for us. So this is a little bit the cycle of the season within a year, which I think it's the easiest to understand for all of us.
Of course.
Yeah. And you said that there's 10 days between the seasons. Is it 10 days before the season changes, 10 days after it, or is it 5 days either side? I'm being very engineering now, and I want the
I love these
accuracy of it.
questions.
Okay.
Because our mind wants these answers, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of, everything that has to do with nature or with life, it's all fluent, right? There is not a real separation. There is not a real cut, an ending and a beginning. So from Chinese medicine, they say the last 10 days of a season, but you can be sure that it doesn't stop there and then, a new season starts. So it's just the possibility of transition, and this can vary depending on the conditions or the person or the season itself, if we talk of a year.
Okay, so soon, in the 21st of June, we'll be coming to the peak of the heart season. Is that right? Summer? Well, and winter in
it's the
Australia.
start of the peak. Because
Okay.
we are still in spring right here in our Mediterranean. So I don't know how you would translate this in Australia. It's the opposite right now. Right.
So currently we're in spring. We're heading toward the end of spring. Is that right?
Absolutely. And we are increasing we are following the increase of yang energy, because the spring, which just started after winter, the plants came slowly through the soil, started to grow, keep growing. So today, for example, when I came home from my morning in Palma, I could literally feel it in the traffic, in people's behavior, this hardly holding ourselves back. Of course, a lot of tricky situations in traffic and everything, the impatience, the longing to be fast. And so this is increasing now, definitely, until, let's say, the end of summer is, what is it? Like here, like August, September, when it collapses kind of and goes then to the beginning of yin again.
I'm just trying to find my 10 days.
I mean,
where are my 10 days?
The thing is, I really thought about this today, exactly about this, Pauline, because I thought, you see, this is exactly now the transition where spring, we have got used to spring, and that it's a gentle awakening after winter, this gentle air and light and temperature. And now it's bringing me forward into more yang, and I feel the scattered energy. So I'm inviting now earth. I know I need to ground myself. I know I need to cancel some appointments I did in order not to risk any accidents for myself, and in order to keep up my concentration and focus. This is exactly now that I feel I will already integrate some earth practices and food, that I'm not getting lost.
Okay. So
currently
you were describing all the excess activity in the impatience, the people driving, probably honking horns, everyone wanting to get somewhere quicker than they can actually do it. So that's a good indicator to, okay, let's slow down a little bit. We don't have to go at breakneck speed, and we can do something a little bit more earthy just to redress that possible imbalances. And you would do that. How would you do that?
Well, by cutting off from my agenda what I can, and it's usually the social part, because the work part is not always manageable, although I have a close eye there too, how many sessions I accept during a day or during a week. And then, of course, for example, in the evenings now, I do not watch any movies, or I just sit somewhere in nature, or often on my bed with open windows where I have a view over the valley, onto Palma and the sea, and with the sounds of the birds. So this slowing down before I go to sleep without any extra stimulation, for example.
So there's an element of reducing the stimulation and a little bit more inwards.
Yes, absolutely. That's it. It's an example.
Okay.
I can also be the other way around.
Of course. Yes. When you need to pep things up a little bit.
When we get too stagnant, too much earth, too sluggish, then we need to kick things up a little bit, especially in the first part of the days.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's practices that you've evolved over the last 30 or so years.
Yeah.
Simply because you want to keep that balance of yin and yang going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So where am I going with this?
It's again here, I think, what we all are longing to have is like, what is good and what is bad, what is right, what is correct, and what is bad for us. And that's where my work comes in whatever I do, whether I work in one-to-one sessions, whether I'm training groups, whether I write books, whether I give classes or lead classes. It's like to just being aware of these aspects and knowing that each aspect in our life, we can break it down to this yin and yang, but then it becomes much more colorful when we go deeper. They all have their place, and they all have their importance. Neither of them is bad or good. It's just when
Yeah.
one of them gets into excess or deficiency, and getting to understand the symptoms or the body language, because this is how she talks with us, with symptoms, getting to understand them and know what is out of balance. Do I need to add something from something, or do I need to reduce something, or do I need to compensate it with another aspect of mine that has been dormant for too long? So I had been entering this therapeutic healing work with the practice of stillness and yin yoga because I was collapsing. I had been, like many of us, just being trained on giving, running, performing. So until finally my body literally collapsed, and I found my way into the yin aspect and practiced that and integrated it in order to re-establish balance. And it took me years. And then I got again the openness for, exercise and running and learning new things, and again stimulating my yang aspect so I would not become only stagnant. But it can
Yeah, yeah.
take years, months, weeks, sometimes only days or hours till we feel
Yeah.
I'm kind of back in my balance. So now where do I want to go?
So when you say coming back into your balance, you kind of like is waking up in the morning. It's a reset. It's time to look at what you can and can't do in life, in that week, in that time scale that you're looking ahead of. Is that about right? Have I got that? Have I interpreted what you've said in my own way? It's something that
Yeah,
resonates with you.
but it makes absolutely sense. And that's the thing. What does resonate with us, and how would I interpret this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The interesting thing here is we are talking about the invisible world here. We are talking about
Ah,
chi, prana, and this can be perceived in a body that's aching, in a head that is foggy, in an emotional state that's grumpy, quickly irritated. So these are all symptoms that I'm not in balance, which
ah.
most of the time we are not in balance in life, yeah, because we are pulled between these two opposites, and it's okay. But when
Mm.
we feel like, oh, today I get up and I have not only a metal plate on my chest with anxiety and like fearing this day to come. No, I feel like this curiosity and this, oh wow, it's what's going to come today, and the body
Mm.
doesn't ache. I have appetite. I have a clear mind. I have a connected heart. So this would be more like a sign of, wow, okay, something is going really nice here that I can use it. For what do I use it
Yeah, yeah,
now?
yeah. So something that brings a smile to your face and let's go and let's
Yeah,
just do it.
it's nice.
Okay, okay. So you know that this show is called Dreaming the New Dream.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you suggest or propose to people if they want to dream a new dream of where they are and what they're doing based on the consciousness that you've acquired in understanding the hormones and the yin and the yang and the seasons? Please.
Yeah, good questions, Pauline. Wow. Well, I feel like always, I think it's first I would invite us or a certain person to pause, to
Pause.
pause, to soften, and to connect. And from this place, I can feel and become aware of what is here. So, what kind of life am I living?
Mm.
What kind of where do I put my energy and time in during a day? In work, but also in social, emotional relationships, or also in
Mhm.
my mind. What is my mind activity? Just scanning these different layers. Um, how much joy do I have in my life? How much
Yeah.
meaning do I have meaning in my life? Does it feel meaningful? And I mean, life doesn't always make sense. So do I bring meaning into my life through my decisions, through what I'm doing, what I'm working with, who I'm interact, what I'm investigating in. Of course, how I nourish myself with the foods. But I'm living in a quite conscious bubble here. Our island has evolved in an incredible, diverse, colorful, conscious community that's multi-layered, and which is amazing. Working the lands, using energies right, rewriting education, contributing to each other's well-being while the world is in fire, and really doesn't make sense so much when we look to the news and to all the horrible things that are going on. But I would always start small, because it can become overwhelming. And so starting with myself, how is my little world? How is she or he in balance? What is needed? What would I like to have more? But is there something, this living the dream can be quite stressful for many people, or finding a purpose. It doesn't need to be anything big or complicated, but do I like my life?
I like what you said earlier, that how much joy do I have in my life? So I like that when you said that, I immediately came up with the idea of a joyometer.
Yeah.
So how far down the line, or how far up the scale am I in the joy in my life? And that's a very good barometer
Yeah.
for anybody to And what brings me joy? What do I like doing that gives me joy? So
Absolutely.
joy is a very good, well, it's almost immeasurable, isn't it? It's
Right.
intangible, but
Yeah.
it's unique to every individual.
Yeah, because any living the dream can also become a stressful situation and cause stress in
Ah,
our system. My husband and I, we have been training, we have given teacher trainings for 15 years together, or me also on my own, with the organ health and yin yoga. And especially in the yoga world, where the control of the body can be so tempting, and knowing all of these Sanskrit words or philosophy, or doing the right thing. And so we came up with a reference for our students and ourselves. That's where we started, is joy bigger than effort. So as soon as effort becomes too big, makes us rigid. I know sometimes, not everything is always joyful or a pleasant, nice, absolutely. But if in a big scale effort becomes bigger than joy of a long time, and we watch ourselves becoming rigid, narrow-minded
wow.
and stiff, there is the moment to bring joy back in again, for sure.
Okay. I love that. I wouldn't have managed the joy and the effort. So it's incredible that you've come up with if you like, it's a yin and yang, and is it the joy and the effort to how much joy are you getting and how much effort are you putting in? So to correlate those two together
Yes.
gives you a high on the joyometer or a low on the joyometer.
Just to help us finding,
Yeah.
it's never either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are always in a
Yes, of
continuously
course.
fluctuating world.
Ah. There may be an incredible release of adrenaline and hormones throughout the whole body once one has completed a marathon, and they're ecstatic because they've actually done it. But how much effort is there in running a marathon in order
Yes.
to get to the finish line?
Yes.
In my world, that's too much.
In mine too.
A marathon doesn't kind of inspire me to I'm sure I can get a whole heap of joy from something else rather than 26 miles of running. But people like to run marathons, and it must be exuberant for them. at the end of the, and the thrill and the rush of completing such a marathon, such an effort to get to the,
I have to step in there. I got to step in there. I got to.
Oh, go on then. Come on.
So 2 weeks ago from America, we had a guy called Aksa Shan. He's an Indian living evangelist. And 16 years ago, he went total raw foods. It changed his whole outlook in life.
Oh, yeah.
He's 7 years old and he just completed his 8th marathon.
Yeah.
And he's saying that changing his mindset and using raw food gave him the actual fuel of life itself. And he's written a book about how he's done that journey. Bits on it to yourself. Now, just listening, being a mere male,
yes.
June book was written for females, but the more I've been sitting here and listening, the more I sense that there's a crossover for the males as well, because when you started talking about yin and yang and the components of the estrogen and testosterone, it's something that males require as well, doesn't it? So I take it your book is really unisex, is it?
It is unisex. It is kind of the story of human beings, of living beings. And then, of course, there are some, like the menstrual cycle that I'm also explaining, of course. It's just for, just dedicated for women bodies, but that's a very small section. But it is really, I got men very much inspired by this whole, the way of looking at life and the different cycles we go through, and men are absolutely included. I find like for men, it's even more important to get into this, because women, we are from the moment we get our menstruation, we are in this world of cycles of birth and death and different waves of emotions and energies and everything. And men often, just because they are not addressed, the men are not addressed in this world of hormones or cycles, or so far. I mean, there is now a lot of new stuff coming out, but men are often overwhelmed or like shocked or ashamed when changes come into their bodies or into their mental abilities, sexual abilities, emotional waves. And I think it's very important that any living being, and no matter what body you're born with or what you identify with, that this law of nature, we all belong, we are all part of it, how this law of nature works or moves through us. And it has so many different ways and faces, and each one of us will have to and is able to, or is invited to find different ways to deal with it. Whether we feel like I need raw food and I want to run a marathon to keep my spirit up and this vitality and find balance there and joy, or whether we just like to pick books and be on the couch and combine it with walks in the woods. I think this freedom to choose is extremely necessary and important. And yes, getting inspired by others, but then try it out ourselves and see what does work for me. Is this ice bath and this breath work really something that helps my well-being, or is this kind of food something that nourishes me or not? So it is a personal journey, and I think there is also where a lot of challenge, because we are longing for somebody who tells us this is the way to go and this is the way not to go, and that's not how it works.
Sure. There's a guy from the United States comes to Australia 4 times a year, but stopped with COVID. His name is Don Tolman. So he spoke about the principles of a healthy life, which was laughter, walking, absorbing the sun's rays, drinking fresh water, fresh food. But his most important thing was make sure you're not in any toxic relationships. And that can either be at home, or it can be in workplace, or it can be in sport, or clubs or something. So that was pretty potent. in the men's groups that I've been involved in, it was quite amazing that for the first 8-9 months, the men were really just focusing on the woman and being considered to be an ATM machine. It was only afterwards they finally started getting into themselves and start to really bring it up to the surface, because then they could feel comfortable with the rest of the males in that group, because, you know, they didn't want to be seen as a wimp, you know.
Yeah.
So getting past that's been an issue. So
Yeah.
there was really something deep and meaningful there. I just lost it.
I feel it's really the time for men. I see it here. We have my husband is involved in this since years. He lived many years in California, where this was always a topic: men circles and men work. And I can see it here on the island. Men are hungry to connect and to explore different ways and aspects of themselves than just the ones they had been taught by the generation before. So I feel, Jeffrey, really that the man of these times now, there is I think you are now the ones who are searching and creating and looking for ways to express your masculinity in different ways than just what was available so far. And I love seeing that. I have a son myself, he's 31, and being able to raise also a son next to my daughter was an incredible gift, to see the differences just by nature, but then also see my rage back then when I was young, and also because what happened to me, like blaming a lot men for everything, and you know, women who had to come up and build up throughout history, but also getting a compassionate, respectful view from men and what you are longing for, what you are building up, and what you are evolving now in these times, because you are longing to have this.
Sure. I remember now what it was. What is this really important piece was, Shuri, we go to work every day, battling. I've got to battle with bloody other blokes. I've got to try and get them across the line in construction or building or repairing something like that. When I come home, I want to come home to a place of peace. I don't need to go to another war zone. You know, I just want to come back to a sanctuary of peace and harmony. And yeah, that was once that was mentioned. I mean, most of the blokes didn't realise why their relationships with their partners disintegrated and separated.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that's when it came out and said, look, yeah, once the kids come along, it's a whole different ballgame. You need to go back to that romance set time and have a date night once a week, you know.
Et voilà.
Yeah.
Et voilà.
That was the solution, yeah. Date night.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel this is, I have been single mom for 10 years. Also, when I moved with my kids here to the island, they were 9 and 11, and I was alone. I didn't know anybody here. So building this life up. And then when I got to know my now partner and husband, how to make space, like as a single mom, my own business, no supporting social network around me, to just integrate, as you said, Jeffrey, just once a week, or if you start with once a month, but like these date nights for the couple, absolutely, to get out of the routine and of the roles that we need to fulfill in order to survive and keep the family or the couple running.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you talk about essential? I mean, some ladies go into hormonal medication and stuff, but through the shows that we've had, we've learnt this is what should be in the home medicine cabinet. So for our audio listeners, it's magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin D, fulvic minerals, iodine, selenium, chromium, vitamin B12, vitamin K2, boron, and Celtic salt. When we haven't had the subject of talking about minerals or vitamins as part of the food group, what's your suggestion?
Yeah. Good question.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm, I have to say I'm a big fan of eating everything and listening to the body what she goes for. So if I need some sweet food, I get some sweet food. I know exactly when it is covered and I need again more salty, or I need meat, or I need fruits or vegetables. So I really move most of the time within the food that's available. We have a lot of fresh food here, including also fish and meat, really good stuff. In supplements, I think it depends a lot where we are, and it's never something for always. But I like, of course, a lot the vitamin C, which helps a lot with the magnesium when you have sleep problems. There are other products like ashwagandha when the first menopause symptoms come in, to balance this out. And serotonin is a big part also that is responsible for our calm effect. It's the counterplayer of dopamine. So dopamine stimulates and brings forth, and serotonin is the pacifier, but in a way that still keeps us strong. And in the evening, the serotonin that hasn't been used is transforming into melatonin that helps us to sleep. So I, for example, use something that the body, it's called MT5, what the body is going to take and then produce serotonin, or at least the portions that it doesn't produce itself, or that's lacking. The same thing is for DHEA. It's a neurotransmitter usually released by the adrenal glands, and it's an amazing stuff that the body also can take it either to produce more progesterone or more estrogen, so the juicy part, or testosterone, which is more the driving part. So testosterone is more the yang part within the yin aspects. So I have discovered this a year ago, and I felt that my brain capacity, my cognitive capacity was enhanced so much, which I realized in my ongoing Chinese medicine studies and acupuncture studies, or in my learning to dance flamenco. So they go under the group of hormones also, and neurotransmitter. And I just want to put in here that this belief, or based on all statistics or statistics, that hormones are not natural, we don't take them in, is not something that I back up. I understand it because I know where it comes from, but I invite always to get an open view to hormones. That's why I wrote the book, to see how natural they are, how important they are. And eventually there comes a moment when supplements and other ingredients do not help us compensate anymore or find balance. And this depends on each woman, on each woman. It's very personal. But I want to bring it in here because the bad boy image of the hormones, with right so, because of how they were, and researches that had been done and then not rectified. I want to loosen this up a little bit. Me, for example, I am a hormone girl. I took the pill for many years, because it helped me to regulate my menstruation, which gave me a lot of calm energy in my life. I didn't have side effects from this certain anti-conception pill. For example, for me it worked. It helped me throughout the fertile years. And now that I'm in postmenopause, I am taking estrogen and progesterone in form of capsules or in form of spray, depending the day how I'm in. I can always choose. And for me, it works. But again, I just invite women to open up and see where they want to start with, and then observe with magnesium, with food, with herbs, with practices. And if it works, fantastic. And just always be aware and not close ourselves up when we are suffering, that we are really not taking this hormone or this substance or this practice because our mind believes or has heard a story and clings on to it, because there is a lot of unnecessary suffering due to that. And nowadays it's so much available, and the hormones that are out there, bioidentic or also synthetic, are have such a different quality than 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put this in here.
Sure.
Mm.
Pauline, your talk.
Well, I was thinking about when you talked about the hormones, that a lot of people have taken the contraceptive pill and they've had to find ways in which to redress that balance, because the principle of the contraceptive pill is that a pregnant woman can't get pregnant. So she's constantly pregnant throughout the whole of her fertile years, which, you know, perhaps in olden days when there were very, very large families in the Victorian times, that's 14 to 20 babies per relationship.
Yeah.
That might well be the norm at that time. But now we're having to redress a different situation where we've artificially, if you like, made ourselves pregnant throughout all those fertile years.
Yes.
And in your case, you've mentioned that you're taking some sprays or some other estrogen and progesterone to redress that imbalance. But there'll come a point in time when that will be redressed, that, you know, naturally your body isn't going to be producing the levels of estrogen and the levels of progesterone, and for men the levels of testosterone. So that's an external supplementary system that can be used to complement. The whole essence of that for me is about each and every one of us becoming aware of what works for us, and that life seems to me to be a continual experimentation in finding out what works, what doesn't work. And I don't want to be somebody that advocates, oh, this is my truth, as if my truth is bigger and better than anybody else's truth. But if it works and it's part of a progressive system, that seems to me to be a good narrative, a good way to navigate our way through every day, every minute of every day, every week, every month. And it's not working anymore. My joyometer is down. I need to put more effort in somewhere else to bring that joy up to where I want it to be. And each of us has our own way of measuring it for ourselves. And we're all different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what you mentioned, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, there's an English comedian called Jimmy Carr. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He got heckled by a woman. And the heckle was, how do I spark up my life with my husband? Jimmy says, have you had kids? He said, 2. Oh, you're gone. If you want to spark up your life, go and have an affair.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. That's Jimmy Carr.
Well, that'll introduce a bit of juiciness into the body, I'm pretty sure of it.
My husband was right there in the show as well.
And what was the reaction?
Well, you know, at the house, everybody knows Jimmy Carr, and of course, there's a joke within a joke. So,
it is, isn't it? Yeah. So, aside from that, advocating affairs all over the place, the Jimmy Carr way, what does Mirjam say?
Yeah, I feel like when I was listening to you, I would really like to add here something, because we're taking hormones or looking for practices and everything to stay juicy. I think this how to phrase that, this tendency to deny aging. I think this is I think an underlying thread that will lead us nowhere. So I think with all looking for practices and supplements and anything in order to keep us juicy, stay in balance, feeling young and vital. And that's why I find the seasons so beautiful, the 5 elements, and also the seasons that we see. It's a continuous changing, and we will eventually come into the autumn of our life or into the winter of our life, and accepting that and diving into this, whatever this looks like for each one of us, but accepting the bigger cycle of life and nature. I think this is one of the key messages that I have in everything I do. And then from there, being playful, of course, not just getting a stamp on us because we have this kind of age, that we are in this stage and we cannot do anything else than that, but just having a certain humbleness to under which law we are going, or we are on this earth.
Very good.
I'm kind of assuming with that in the seasons of life, we don't have to be rigid about, well, I'm 60 years old, therefore I must be either in high summer or entering autumn. That I could actually be in the spring of my life, depending on a whole range of other circumstantial environmental factors. I like that idea. I like the idea of embracing whatever season is presenting us with, regardless of the external. But the idea of accepting each and every season for the qualities and the depth of which it offers us is something that we can all ruminate on, and we can all kind of digest in different ways. I like that. And it's interesting that you said we're all fighting, or seemingly fighting, the idea that we're aging. Well, what else are we doing if we're not here? It's pretty obvious, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I am at least one day older than I was yesterday.
For sure. We all are. The beauty is, and I mean, we all go through moments of this pain when we realize the impermanence of life, and I think none human being can skip this, and finding ways to be with that and deal with this. And of course, the body or nature is quite brutal, because from biology, it is really so that and this is, I have discovered, the big fear of women, and of course of men too, when these capacities, these juicy capacities, begin to drop, this fear of not being worthy anymore, right? Not being useful anymore, not being seen anymore. And this is, I think, there we need all the compassion for ourselves as human beings. But then seeing other possibilities, first of all, accepting what is happening, and then looking for ways that can maybe, bring more balance or prolongate certain stages more. But what I love from Chinese medicine is the years after menopause, or the post-menopause. Menopause is just representing a month or so, because it's just the day or the month when you have been a full year without bleeding. So the winter time within the life cycles or cycle of life is very short. But what we are really afraid of is what comes afterwards. And it's like, this is, for most of us the biggest lifespan when we look at all the other cycles of life, because it can go from 55 to 85 if we are lucky, or 90. So these are the biggest amount of years that we have available. And in Chinese medicine, the years after winter, after menopause, are called second spring. So although biology says, okay, it's going to go downwards, very brutal, from Chinese medicine is like we go to a different baseline. It's not the hormones anymore that are driving us so strong, like in spring, in puberty, in fire, fertile years, then in autumn, like perimenopause, menopause. Now we can revisit all the seasons and cycles, as you mentioned before, Pauline, based on experience, based on priorities, based on things we still want to live, based on wisdom that we have accumulated. And we can decide how long does each season last, or our body will tell, well, you had now put fire again into this project, but now you need to rest because it's breaking down or it needs rest. But this is the beauty of it once you understand the cycle of nature and the hormonal function of it, that eventually when we are free of this strong hormonal drive, we can and we are revisiting all seasons again, and we decide, or life, of course. I mean, there are circumstances that are not under our control, but we have a big saying in it also. Does this make sense?
Yeah, well, to me it does, and I'm just going to add to that because of the conversations we've been having, this is not just a female thing. Of course, females have a biological capacity and predisposition to want to reproduce, but of course men do as well, and their sperm can go on into their 70s and 80s and still produce babies. So their reproductive life is almost much wider and expansive than the female one, because biologically we're not going to be producing babies after menopause, really. But for a man, his testosterone will keep on going, and that's part of his, like you said, the juicy drives.
And see, this is something where nature kind of takes care of us women, because it helps us stop this production or the cycles, the monthly cycles that gives us the possibility to fall pregnant and then reproduce a new human being. With men, there is not such a stop in, not such a drastic one. And important is, this is what I learned, this is only something I learned through Chinese medicine. We women, we are all men and women, we are all given a certain amount of energy, right? And from which we dispose, and that we nourish and build up or use up during our lifetime. And we women, we lose this energy also through our monthly menstruation. So every time we have a menstruation, we get something, we give something away from this life force that we are given, this battery. Men, on the other side, they lose their precious life, vital life energy by sexual activity, ejaculation, orgasm. They lose each time they have an orgasm, they lose some of their precious life energy. Many men do not know that. And so just knowing that doesn't mean I'm not having sexual activity anymore, but I choose more wisely when, where, with whom, because I know it's taking from what's left. So also to see that menopause kind of is a wise stop and break from nature for us women, and not just a loss and not being juicy and reproductive anymore. But nature is always in our favor. And men, there needs to be an awareness for men also to navigate. I mean, men who are practicing Tantra in the conscious world are there often then in the other obsessive way. But just this information, I think, all based on nature or natural things, I think is helpful for men and women.
Hey, do you have something to say, Jeff? Go for it.
I was thinking of that movie, Sleeping with the Enemy. Yeah.
Ah,
And the concept is that when you come together, you, as a husband and wife, or male and female, and you go off to your own sort of workplace or whatever it is that you do, and then you come back home, and then you bring that energy back in, and then when you start exchanging bodily fluids, then the energy starts moving and shifting between people, and you can see where people have been living together for some time that they seem to be morphing into each other. Yeah. And energetically, you can see how one can be of a high vibration and the other one is actually pulling that energy into them to bring themselves up. And I've watched that a few times in people where you can start to see when they start unconsciously wearing the same color clothing, where the exchange of energy is now moved across and they're interchanging. Have you seen that? Have you been aware of that?
I have been aware of that, this exchange of energy through sexual activity very, very early. So not in this specific way, as you said, to observe them wearing the same clothes or whatever, but I always felt this exchanging sexual fluids or having sex with each other is not just a physical act. It's this invisible that is merging or giving away or taking it in, and it has an effect. So that's why this conscious choice of what do I do with my sexuality? Where do I give it away? Where do I let somebody penetrate me or a man? Where do I really go and merge? I think it's a very important detail that kind of should be really taught or let's say invited for discussion from very young on. And I mean, we adults, when is sexuality ever a topic of our coffee breaks? So it's something
good
would be
question.
really nice, yeah, that we talk more about all of this.
Yeah, I'll have to tell you about a subject off air because it relates to the Catholic Church and the healing orders and the mystic orders, and it's called Married to the Church. So it's a subject, it's not really for public consumption, but we can talk about it off air. Anything else that we should be talking about that we haven't spoken about before we wind up?
Wow, it's been fascinating. Mirjam, is there a question that I could have asked that you're bursting to tell the rest of the world before we conclude our conversation? Because I haven't got it and I'm wondering if you have it. Please ask me this. This is what I want you to ask me. That's the
Well,
question.
you have had excellent questions, really, that brought us in such beautiful topics and fields. My deep longing, this is why I started with 30. I originally come from hotellery, 5-star hotel work, tour guide, like working with a lot of people, putting a face up in order to satisfy the needs of high demanding clients. When I got into the therapeutic world and then dive deep in, and I'm in there still, and with spirituality and Buddhism and mindfulness and everything, I think my deep longing really and desire for us all is like, where the question often is, how do I lead a happy life, or how do I stay healthy, or what is the right thing for me to do next? All of these natural questions that occur during a life path. I really would just always invite this, or I would answer this like staying curious and making opinions and decisions for myself, not relying, not on a guru, not on a podcast, not on a book, not on practices. Keep like being our own scientist. And whether it is in the spiritual world or scientific world, medical world, lifestyle, and stay playful and being the own the only one that really can take a decision about my well-being, my next step to take, and not giving this power away to others. It doesn't mean all doing by yourself. It means a lot of exchanging, asking, listening, but taking this power and this freedom that we have. Most of us who are listening to this live in a pretty free world, which comes with a lot of freedom, but also the responsibility to do something with it. Because so many of our sisters and brothers do not have the chance to do that because of culture or where they live in. So those of us who can, let's take this freedom and responsibility and make something out of it that we feel this is my path, this is my decision, this is how I want to make this world a better place.
Fantastic.
I've got to say, I've just been tapped on the shoulder here. Do you ever do hypnosis? Do you actually get into the person who comes to you to find out what archetype they're working on? It seems like there's another part of your business there, or part of your thing that we haven't spoken about. It seems like archetypes play a very important role with some of your clients who come and see you, because one could be the knight in shining armor, and one could be Cinderella who wants the prince.
Absolutely. I do not hypnosis. But I love, and I've investigated and lived them really, the feminine archetypes. I'm working with the Greek goddesses, 7 of the Greek goddesses. There are different archetypes that we can have a look at, that we can work by. But I find exactly through having discovered the archetypes, I understood that the one who is limiting myself is me. So clinging on to a role that was important and helpful for me for a certain period of my life, for a certain season of my life, but now it's not helping me anymore. At the opposite, it's holding me back. And so expanding my knowledge about what archetypes are, what they can do, how I can invite their qualities into my life, and depending on each situation, during a day, I can go through all the archetypes because of different situations that life presents me to, that I can be them. I can play, not play them. I can be them and use their support and use their qualities, and therefore, I don't know, have so much more fun and skills and connections in life than if I hold on just to one characteristic and personality that makes me feel safe. Is this what you were going for, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I was just looking at the. I keep seeing the 20 cards in the Arcana. So I was like, different the polarities between the aspects of the Torah. Yeah.
Oh wow, okay. Well seen.
So which 2 gods and goddesses were you looking at, Jeff? Was it like Zeus and Hera, or Persephone and
Well, bloody Zeus and Hera are bloody brother and sister. That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't mind.
I must say,
I don't mind Poseidon. I don't mind Hades. All 3 dudes, and Apollo as well. Yeah, I enjoy them. Anyway, so yeah, it was really strong with you. I could sense there's an issue looking at those archetypes, because they can change and shift people's consciousness pretty quick.
Yeah, a lot.
And what was fascinating in your answer was that you can play or be or call on all of those archetypes all day long. And it's like almost I had this idea that who are going to be my imaginary play friends today, and they come in and they come out and off they go. They drop their qualities and then, oh yes, very good for that moment, and then move on. In the afternoon, there's another team of imaginary play friends, archetypes, to come in and make life very interesting.
Absolutely. I have them just if somebody's interested to get a little glimpse, because I narrowed Jean Boland's book, Goddesses in Every Woman, and Gods in Every Man. I narrowed it down in a part of my first book yin for life.
Ah,
So
okay.
this is a very nice chapter just to get a peek of it, and then we can always profound or go deeper into other lecture. But I find it a very powerful psychological tool for us men and women to just avoid that we get stuck and we take the juice and the joy out during these few years that we have here on this planet.
Very good. Okay. I know we're winding up to another line of questioning, but now that's fantastic. Really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to come and enjoy your presence with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you
so much for having me. I hope you understood everything of my accent and my way of expressing myself in English.
It was good. It was good. It was good. And I've now given myself 2 little action plans from the result of having this conversation with you. Is my turning the phone off. Yep, get rid of the phone in my bedroom. That's gone. Well, it will be gone tomorrow. And I want to check out all those archetypes that you've written in your book and get back to you on them. Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you for being here and for sharing a beautiful dream. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, really. It's an honor. I'm very grateful that you invited me here with you too. Thanks.